Hey guys, good afternoon. Jason and Austin here at JP Euro as always. A little quick tip on the servicing on the spark plug removal, and we learn something new every day, and I actually want to show you guys. So Austin, you're going to go ahead and walk them through the year, the model.
14 Mercedes GOK 350, 3.5 direct injected engine. Basically, we came in for a tune-up maintenance. We did a spark plug replacement, do around 60,000 miles on these cars. Those are the spark plugs there. A couple of tricks that we learned and some things that you guys need to know. There are TSBs out there on these spark plugs. You cannot use anything but Mercedes spark plugs. That's number one. Number two is you can't use any anti-seize, which is a general practice. This is your anti-seize here. You put it on the threads. It keeps it from sticking, gives you proper torque. But you can't do that on these plugs. It will not work properly.
What was the old saying that you told me last night?
Old school?
Old school.
That's the old school way.
Old school way.
Old school is not new school.
Not anymore. Go ahead.
So no anti-seize. It has to be the Mercedes plug. And then the next thing that comes into play is indexing the spark plug. We'll go back to that old school term. What that means is facing the open end of this electrode here towards the intake valve for an optimum burn. On this particular car, the torque is 23 Newton meters, no more on this spark plug. That faces this plug in the correct position inside the cylinder head. If you do not, you run the risk of burning up pistons, melting pistons, and other internal engine damage, serious engine damage. We actually had some trouble with this car with misfiring, and it was a direct result of indexing the spark plugs. So we're all learning something here today, but we just wanted to share it with you guys. I use the handy, about $600 Snap-on torque range. Digital torque range gives me very accurate readings, so I know that they're 100% where they need to be.
What was the torque?
23 Newton meters.
Okay.
That's about 16.97 foot-pounds.
Not good.
No,
Yeah.
you have to be really on top of it. It did not take me very much to get those things where they needed to be. So very easily to over tighten them. Once you over tighten them, they crush this crush washer so far that you can't get it in the correct position where it needs to be.
I guess in a layman term, once you use that spark plug, you cannot go back and.
Now, that's a good point. Now, there is a TSB put out by Mercedes, and they were having trouble with that.
Correct.
You can reuse a spark plug as long as the correct torque was used from the beginning.
Okay.
Because you have a little bit of play.
A window.
You have a little window in there, but not very much. So,
okay.
You know, general rule, 60,000 mile spark plug. If you got to take it out, replace it and be done with it. You know, not very much. It's, you know, it's good insurance. So.
Would you like to cover the
ignition coil?
Ignition
Some
coil.
other stuff on that.
This is a new engine, new design as well.
This is actually the bottom of the coil. There's another piece. These broke off. The reason they broke off is because they were stuck down here. There's technical service bulletins put out by Mercedes that about applying dielectric grease inside there.
Did you find it helpful at all? Or?
I actually did. You know, it's a general rule. I do that, except for BMWs. You don't do that because that grips the spark plug. But these, the way that they were angled, they're angled down into the cylinder head, and this sits up straight. And it was very, very, very hard to get this out.
Do you have the
New ones are inside.
No, it's inside. Sorry, it's kind of like the angle shape, so this is not the typical stuff.
No, all this is new design stuff. New design stuff. So.
What's involved in replacing this?
First thing, removing the resonance manifold, removing the air box, getting everything unplugged, and you got some vacuum lines and stuff back here. I actually took the ECM out. It made it a little bit easier to get in there, but that's pretty much it. Once you get this out of the way, they're on the sides right here. You have to move some harnesses out of the way, but
Six
cylinders. Yes, the intake gaskets. That's a good point. When you take this off, the intake gaskets will stick on this upper piece, and you cannot put this back on with those stuck on there. You actually have to take the gaskets off and set them on their individual runners. Then you can set this back on. That's the only way it'll go. There is no other way. That's a good tip.
Most people take off the ME, right?
I did. I took out the computer. Yes, sir.
So make sure you take out the battery also, you know, all the good stuff, and remove it before you do anything. So Well, that's a good learning curve today. So anything else we can help the audience?
That's it. You know, these new cars, you can't rely on your old knowledge all the time.
Right.
So educate yourself, read as much as you can. You know, we learned a valuable lesson here today.
So these are not DIY
No,
project
this
anymore.
is not necessarily something you can
Yes.
just go and do and because you've done it before. It doesn't work like that.
Also, one other thing, you know, remember how the coil, the ignition coil, the plug, you can actually swap them easily. And number 4, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can actually swap between 4 and 5, no problem at all. So guys, be very, very careful how you guys do it. Otherwise, it's going to become a huge problem. So,
Yep.
well, thank you, Austin.
Yes, sir.
Good learning.
That's it.
Today.
Another wrinkle in the brain.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Merry Christmas.